chance to any other math class until you had pre-algebra. And you can't take pre-algebra now. So you're going to take fundamentals of math for all 3 years of high school. Okay, I'll be able to add and subtract real good by the time I get out of high school. Yeah. So that's why in my head with math and subtraction, I'm like a calculator. I can look at math problems pretty quickly. And as long as I don't have any alphabet in them, I'm as good as anybody I know at figuring out math. So when these other pay-to-click programs launched, I looked at them and I said, that's not going to work. And, we're talking January, and I was like, either they're going to shut down real quick, or they're going to have to revamp their math or something. And those of you aware of what's going on in the pay-to-click community will recognize that played out, that they've had to shut down, to revamp, to try to regroup, to create other income streams and do different things to try to compensate for the bad math that they started with. And so I thought, well, I've been trying to figure out a solution so that I could recreate what I was doing 20 years ago with 12 Daily Pro. And these things are having a moment. So I know the math that works because I had studied 12 Daily Pro's math and used that a lot. I said, well, I know how to make one of these things work, and they're not doing it right, so I might as well start my own. And just rather than being mad about it, just take the bull by the horns and fix it myself. And so I did that and started talking to a private group that I have, about 400 people, and telling them what I was going to do and showing them the math that was wrong with the other programs and why they weren't going to work, and explaining the math of what I was going to do and why it would work. And so for 3 months, this group of 400 people was just biting at the bit for me to get this program built and get it launched, because they kept hearing about it, but I wasn't willing to launch it until we had all the problems worked out and all the kinks worked out. So we, first of all, created an admin team, and one of the first questions people usually come up with is, well, how are you going to avoid the same fate that happened to 12 Daily Pro and the government come in and shut you down? Several things from that. One is that we're paying people to click ads. It's not an investment. You don't get paid a percentage on the amount of money you put into it. You get paid to click ads. You're getting paid for a service. It's a very common model used all over the world, totally legal in almost every jurisdiction I'm aware of. So we're paying people to click on ads. Secondly, we know that no matter how good a job we do of staying within the parameters of the current laws and rules, that the U.S. government is notorious for moving the goalposts and changing the rules. So how do we avoid that? Well, we avoided that by incorporating in Panama, finding a Panamanian host to host the website, and finding some old friends of mine, family that I've known for about 21 years that are expats living in Panama. So this program, the website is hosted in Panama, the company is registered in Panama, and the admin team is living in Panama. So we are totally Panamanian based. No references to the U.S. in any shape, fashion, or form. Panama does not tax cryptocurrency. Panama does not regulate cryptocurrency much at all. So by doing everything in cryptocurrency, we're not being taxed in Panama on the revenues. So also the rules are very lenient there in terms of what we can do. We don't have to pay taxes on any income in Panama that's not generated within Panama. And even then, because the income that we're generating is generated solely through cryptocurrency, there's no taxes on cryptocurrency in Panama. So we sort of, again, organically evolved to Panama based on several factors, and it's just wound up being the best possible scenario that we could have in every respect. So that's how ClickBaitPays evolved. Now, ClickBaitPays, people keep asking me if I'm the owner, and that gets complicated because I am the founder of the International Coalition for Economic Development, ICE for short. I founded that as a way to do what I was doing back with the visually impaired and blind people on an international level, so that we're able to help people all over the world who need income, regardless of whether they have a disability or not. And so the International Coalition for Economic Development was based basically taking what I learned about using economic development to solve problems worldwide. And so through ICE, the plan has always been to create different ways for people to make money. And one of the things that I was adamant about when I created ClickBaitPays was I wanted a way for people with no money to make money. So people can join free and earn 10% referral fees on their referrals clicks. You're not getting paid for referring anybody, but if you refer somebody and they purchase an ad campaign and they start clicking daily to make money, you're going to earn 10% for every click they do daily. That money is available to withdraw immediately. It goes immediately into your available balance, and you're able to withdraw that money. Now, we do have a once per week limit on withdrawals, just so we won't spend all day, every day doing thousands of withdrawals, just to kind of keep a little bit of a lid on that as we grow bigger, that you can only withdraw once a week. And it's a $10 minimum, or 10 USDT minimum, I should say. Everything on the site is listed as USDT. That's just because we need a stable valuation in order to not have to deal with the volatility of some other crypto. So we use USDT as a valuation, but we're not limited to USDT as a source of payment. We use Now Payments, which allows you to use almost any popular cryptocurrency that you want to use. And then I set it to receive what I want to receive. And so it works great both ways. And they just are an intermediary to exchange what you send to what I want. And that way you don't have to be limited to what I want to receive. So by allowing people for free and to earn 10% on whatever their referrals click, we've created a way for people with no money at all to make money, which has always been very important to me in creating my projects that very much come from a social services mentality, want to help people in need and people that the governments of the world have neglected to help. That we can help people there. The solutions are there. Governments are just idiotic. And I say that with no apology, that the way most governments operate is just plain stupid. All they do is take money and spend money without getting the results that they should be getting. That's why a business model makes a lot more sense in solving problems. If you can figure out a way to solve a problem and make a profit doing it, then you can change the world. And I really believe we've done that now. Okay.
What a